Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're doing something really cool. We're transforming a standard textbook chapter right into a creative agency masterclass. We're going to take you from being just a passive consumer of media to an active, ethical creator of it. Let's dive right in. So think about the very last thing you bought, or, maybe a place you just visited. How did you actually hear about it? Was it a recommendation from a friend? A magazine layout? Maybe a sponsored post you saw while scrolling on your phone? Chances are, somewhere along that chain of communication, an advertisement was involved. We interact with persuasion literally every single day, and connecting that to your actual real life is exactly where we want to start.
That brings us to our main mission for today, unpacking the secrets of creating an effective advertisement. We're not just going to look at the finished product, though. We're going to completely deconstruct the actual mechanics of ads. We'll explore how they work on our psychology and, much more importantly, how you can build them yourself.
It's like we're stepping directly into the creative director's chair. Whether you're brainstorming a project for a local business with your friends or sketching out some massive nationwide campaign, we're going to learn the ropes and figure out exactly how to take a simple idea and broadcast it effectively to the world.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the art of persuasion.
At their absolute core, all advertisements are designed to do one specific thing, and that is to persuade you to take action. But that action usually takes one of two distinct forms. On one hand, you've got commercial advertising. This is your classic shop signboard or a campaign that's actively trying to sell you a product or service. On the other hand, we have social advertising. Now, this uses the exact same persuasive mechanics, but strictly for the public good. Think of the Swachh Bharat mission for cleanliness or widespread polio vaccination drives. It's the same dual power of persuasion, just with entirely different end goals.
Moving right along to Section 2, from print to street plays.
Now, you might be thinking, advertising is just this modern internet age phenomenon? No way. It actually has a massive, fascinating history. Just take the year 1780, for example. The very first newspaper advertisements in India appeared in the Bengal Gazette that year. We're talking about the very first English-language newspaper in the country, where local businesses were already figuring out how to capture public attention, pitching things like local hair oil centuries before the very first digital pop-up ad was even a thought.
And since those early print days, the mediums have just evolved like crazy. Picture this, going from those historic newspapers to door-to-door vendors literally ringing bells or using specific shouts to announce their goods in the streets. Then you get visual markers, hand-painted signboards, and vibrant murals popping up in marketplaces. And it definitely doesn't stop at physical objects, because performance plays a huge role too. Street plays, or Nukkad Natak, and folk songs have had this deep cultural impact, spreading awareness long before radio, television, or social media platforms even existed. It really proves a fundamental rule of advertising. The medium you choose is just as important as the message itself.
Okay, Section 3, Core Elements of Advertising.
Before we actually go out and build anything ourselves, we've got to understand what makes an ad truly tick. The source material gives us this absolute golden rule. The key elements are storytelling, creating connections, and making an impact. I love this because it elevates the whole creative process. You aren't just slapping sterile facts on a page or aggressively trying to force a sale, you are crafting a narrative. You really have to connect with human emotion if you want to drive a lasting impact.
Which brings us to Section 4, Designing Your Campaign.
Let's get practical here and actually walk through the step-by-step process of building a campaign from scratch. It really comes down to 3 actionable phases. Phase 1 is script writing. That's where you draft your dialogue, voiceovers, or pinpoint the exact physical actions. Phase 2 is the storyboard, where you rough out the visual flow. And finally, Phase 3 is design and animation, adding the polish. This is where your text, background visuals, catchy jingles, and sound effects completely bring the whole project to life. I want to pause on Phase 2 for just a second because storyboarding is literally the visual backbone of your entire project. If you don't know, a storyboard is basically a rough sketch of your key frames, making sure to note the specific action, text, and sound for each moment. And hey, don't worry about being a master artist. Even stick figures absolutely work. It's simply a tool to ensure everyone on your team is on the exact same page before any costly production actually begins.
To really picture a storyboard in action, let's think about a water conservation ad. Imagine your first frame is just a quick sketch of a dripping tap, then you add notes for the text, "Do you know how much water we waste every day?" and include an audio cue for the music to slowly fade in. Then your second frame shows a hand turning off that tap. The text updates to small changes can make a big difference, paired with a cue for the music to fade out. It's a perfect, simple blueprint of how visuals, text, and audio combine to tell a really compelling story.
But hold on, before any campaign actually launches, we absolutely have to establish some critical operational guardrails. When you're a professional creator, you carry a lot of responsibility. First up, cultural and gender sensitivity. You must actively avoid stereotypes or offensive content. Second, internet safety. Never, ever share personal information. Third, seek permissions. Whether that's getting consent from a business owner to use their storefront or asking a mentor for guidance, never use assets without approval. And finally, accurate representation. Any claims you make have to be absolutely truthful. These are pretty much the non-negotiables of responsible creation.
And finally, we've reached Section 5, Reviewing Your Impact.
This is the crucial final step before any ad sees the light of day, the review process. You've built it, you've checked your ethical responsibilities, but now you have to ask, does it actually work? As a creator, you've got to ask yourself 3 hard questions. First, the call to action. What exactly is this ad asking the viewer to do? Second, the target audience. Does this message truly connect with the intended group, or is it missing the mark? And third, medium suitability. Is a print ad, a radio jingle, or a social media post the absolute best fit to deliver this message? Honestly, nailing these answers guarantees maximum impact.
To wrap this explainer up, I want to leave you with a bit of a challenge. What local social cause would you champion in a street play or, a community campaign? I really challenge you to take everything you've learned today, the storytelling, the mechanics of persuasion, the storyboarding, and apply it directly to your own neighborhood. Maybe it's maintaining a local park or highlighting your city's heritage. The tools of creation are literally in your hands right now. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Now go out there and start creating.